Word to the cloud. Got it. All right. We got Kenny. Kenny, where are you at, Kenny? Geographically.
I'm in Stillwater as well. I'm part of the Net group too.
Okay, good to have you guys on. This is great. What a nice group we got today. Jonathan, I don't know that you've ever met Katey. You guys are what we call sidelines, meaning you're both sponsored directly to me. And Katey used to run a Keller Williams in my neighborhood, and we got to be friends. That was many, many, many years ago. And she's gone on to coach mortgage companies and real estate agents and brokerages. And she's been our guest several times. She's going to co-collaborate with me today. But I really wanted to talk about something that is near and dear to me, because many of you may know on Friday mornings at 7:30, I get on what's called a coach training call for Workman Success Systems, the company I coach for. And Teresa's on. Oh my gosh, we got some amazing people on today. This is just incredible. And on that call, there's often different things that I'm learning from. When you're on coach training, it's the owner of the coaching company and the top people in the company talking to us about what's going on with our coaching clients. And since almost every single coach at Workman also runs a real estate team, it's not just an education on how to be a better coach. It's an education on how to be the biggest, best version of yourself while you're running your team. So those are things that I struggle with on a daily basis. And what was surprising to me, and it shouldn't be because it's a constant reminder, some of the most successful people on that call, people running teams that do 2-3 million a year in commissions, not volume, struggle with their mindset every single morning. And so I remember hearing from a speaker many years ago that talked about the science of belief, not the emotion of belief, but the science of belief. And there is another book called The Oz Principle. I would encourage you guys to read that book also. But it was about the fact that the part of your brain that expresses emotion doesn't express words. So sometimes you might be in a wonderful, amazing mood and not be able to truly pinpoint verbally what it is that's causing you to be in that great mood. And vice versa, you can be feeling, you ever been, I like to call it the furrowed brow. You're driving down the road, the radio's on, but you don't even hear it because you're into this furrowed brow, holding onto the steering wheel. And you want to say, when someone says, good morning, you say, what's good about it? Or something like that. Those feelings are not necessarily attributable, something that you can pinpoint or give a reason for. So if you're driving down the road and you're drumming on the steering wheel and the radio's up and you're singing the words, even though you don't know the words. And if someone said to you, why are you in such a good mood? You wouldn't necessarily be able to pinpoint it. And it's the same with the quote unquote bad mood, or the mood where you're not feeling the full breadth of who you could be possibly. And the reason I brought that up is the guy running the call today has been a guest on this call before, I think once or twice. His name's Cleve Gaddis. He's from Atlanta. And he was running the call and saying that if you were in my mind, you would say, that's one crazy man. He said he's up one minute, he's down the next minute. His thoughts are scattered, and they are usually thoughts of scarcity and not being enough. And even though I know it, I coach on it, it still hit me like a ton of bricks this morning when he said that. I've had Sherry Mason and I are good friends, and we've had talks about this, intimate talks about struggling. What's the term they say? Your brain isn't always your friend, because it's the one feeding you this crap. So your brain and your self-conscious being has to fight against each other to keep yourself in the best, most upbeat possible way that you can be on a daily basis. Now, look, it doesn't matter where you are in the United States and whether things look perfectly rosy right now or not. The market is going to experience a shift. And the word shift has an F in it. It's not missing the F. So a shift doesn't mean the market is shit. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't like swearing, but I really want you to get the breadth of that that we are going to, as real estate agents, struggle on a daily basis. We had somebody that was so ecstatic to find a house recently. One of our buyer's agents put him into a deal. Larry's his name, and Larry worked his butt off for these people and wrote a bunch of offers, and they kept getting rejected, and finally they get accepted. And they had to battle through appraisal issues and battle through down payment issues, and they beat all those battles. And then his hours get cut by a few hours, and he calls Larry and says, I need out. I want out. I got to get out of this transaction. And so what happened? It went from being a real estate market to a skills-based real estate market. Larry had to develop the skills to speak to the customer in a way that would be like a father, like a big brother, saying, your reaction to what's happening is not going to be the best thing for you in the future when you look back and say, I had the opportunity to be a homeowner. So I don't know the exact words Larry said, but I know that they worked. I wasn't listening in. He got some coaching from someone on our team, and he went out after it. It's a skills-based market. And I hope and wish that it would always be a skills-based market, because it would keep out those people that are doing it just for the quick buck, right? And no, I admire people who see an opportunity and take it. I'm not going to speak badly about anyone, but I know that the people that get on this call or that listen to the recording of this calls are learning-based people that want to do better at their craft and want to be the best they can be in their life, live life as an example to others. I barely know Bruce, but I know that about Bruce Schneider. Why do I know it about everybody on this call? Because you would not get on a call from some ranting Arab telling you about his thoughts if you didn't think there might be one pearl. So I'm gonna call on a few people today besides Katey, but first I want to get, and you that I'm going to call on, you don't know I'm calling on you, but I am, because this is about us as humans, individuals, and not about who's leading the call or who's a coach and who's not a coach. It's about experiences. And the one thing that Cleve said today that I love, he said, if you want to change someone's belief, they have to have an experience that proves to them that they are safe in changing their beliefs that they've had. Like their belief that I can't create a team or I can't sell more houses can only be changed by an actual experience that proves to them that their belief could be different. Katey, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, and you've coached. I know there was a certain point in time where the mortgage industry was in distress, and you were coaching people in the mortgage industry to stay in, to buckle down, to double up. And so talk to us about the experiences you've had, both as an individual in the market and as a coach.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, and I had this conversation in a room of realtors and a loan officer yesterday, that I think there's a tendency for us in the business to feel responsible for it. Like interest rates has gone up, there's a shift in the market, and it's all our fault. Right, that somehow we have control over these things, and we get apologetic. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, and that's not our job. And I think that's something that's, I think, really interesting. That look, we are experts at navigating real estate. When the market was getting 25 offers on a property, that was did we also own that piece? So I think it's really an opportunity to say, okay, here's the situation. Here's what you said, buyer, seller, that you wanted. This is why. Let's navigate on how this is going to be best for you in the short term and the long term, and sit down and have a conversation. We become advisors. To Rick's point, we become good at our skills. And I think I'm actually having, not only the conversation we had, during the recession, 2008, 2009, of figuring out what's the opportunity. Right now, I mean, I met a loan officer yesterday that got that became licensed as a loan officer at the end of 2019. He doesn't know any other market than the phone ringing and people saying, I want to refinance. And so, but he's eager to learn. And I thought that was the part that really inspired me, is like, hey, I know that I've got some skills to learn. What do I got to do? And I think that's that's the question we all need to ask ourselves, and also as leaders, because I think everybody on this call is a leader. And so, and I agree with you, Rick, we're not responsible, but we are the guides. I said that we are the person that advises them. What's next? What's the opportunity? I've always said there are opportunities in every market. What is the opportunity for you? What is the opportunity for you as a realtor? What's the opportunity for your clients? How can we help people take advantage of every market, and what is the best way to do that? And we also know that there's a component of getting in the game. So, yeah, oh, I didn't really want to get into the market because there was too many, it was too crazy, too many buyers, multiple offer situation. Okay, yeah, but then you lost out on 20% appreciation. So let's get you in the game. And let's talk about what this looks over the long term. It's still more expensive to rent. And so, I mean, just having these kinds of conversations to help people. And I think you're talking about the experience. I think lots of people have experiences in their life. It was funny, Rick, when you were talking, I was like, wow, this sounds like a conversation I have with my son. So my son is a college baseball pitcher. And at this point in his career, the biggest challenge he has is the head game. It's the head game. It's having a short memory. Right? In sports, you have to have a short memory. You had a great game yesterday, doesn't mean you're having a great game today. The last inning, you got lit up. The next inning, you may strike everybody out. You gotta just be, where are we right now? What do we have in front of us to help people make good decisions and be the voice of reason? I love the skills-based market. And I love about this group is everybody here wants to help each other and provide support for their own experiences. And that's why I love this call, is because I like to listen to people to say, and it's that, like Rick just said, it hits you like a freight train, like, oh yeah, dang it, I knew that, or I forgot about that, or just get reminded. So
yeah, that's Katey, that's so right on. And Jonathan, if you'd be open to me calling on you for a minute, Jonathan leads, and never talks about it, but leads thousands and thousands of people every week with his talks. And while his talks are a lot on theology, they're about leadership also. And he's an incredible orator, but he stays within himself. He kind of stays within this Jonathan and takes a lot of his energy to become the man he has become today. He is a model citizen in more ways than I can describe. And he's a reflection of his father, who I never knew, but attended his father's Zoom funeral with over 1,200 people on the Zoom, not counting the families that were in there. So almost 3,000 people were watching the Zoom memorial for his amazing father. And the reason I say that is you can't be around people like that and not have a different vision and reflection of yourself and what's possible. So Jonathan, on the subject we're talking about being able to go out and ignore, I loved what Katey said in the beginning. She said, why are you apologizing for the interest rates go up? I mean, we're asking our lenders, what are you doing? How are you getting people in? She goes, oh, we're giving everybody 5, 7, and 10-year ARMs, and they're at 4.2 or 4.5. And it's no problem, because yes, there isn't one economist who isn't saying that the appreciation will continue, maybe not at 20%, but certainly at least 5 to 10%. And why wouldn't you want to make that money? So Jonathan, you deal with a lot of big projects in real estate, but I know you deal with mindset on a daily basis. Share with us some of your thoughts about this.
Sure. Well, Rick, what a kind thing to say. I love you, brother. On that subject of we're only as good as who we hang out with, I'm a big Jim Rohn fan, right? Show me who your friends are, I'll show you who you are. I think about, like you mentioned, my father. He's the kind of man more men should try to grow up and become. And, the Isaac Newton statement about if I can see farther, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. None of us get here by ourselves. And that's why calls like this are so invaluable. We got to carve out the time for mindset, for repetition. When you're pitching in college at that level, you have the skills. Everybody's talented. So the differentiator is going to be how you show up, and how, there's an amazing book called Flow. Vic Csikszentmihalyi, I think the crazy last name is longer than mine. And basically he says, look, there's a formula to success. If you look at, Michael Jordan in Game 7 with the 2 seconds on the buzzer, and he sank, like, why does he want the ball? Because in his mind, he's already won the game, right? So there's a formula to do that going backward. So the idea of flow is, think about a time in your life where you're walking on the beach with somebody you love. Maybe you're playing music, maybe you're shooting baskets, and you can't miss. The clock disappears and you're just so in the moment. And that is a place that you get mentally. There's a way to get there. And so the entire book is about how he coached Olympic athletes to work backwards and become that person when required. So yeah, I think if we try to just keep running on the gas that's in our own tank, we're not going to make it. But I'm a big fan of team effort. We are much stronger rowing in the boat together than we are if we try to paddle our own canoe. So I'm sorry, just platitudes, but I love that book. There's also an amazing book I reread recently called The Art of Questions by Dorothy Leeds.
Nice. I have not heard of it.
You can kind of distill the summary. The cliff notes of the book is on her website, but when you ask the right questions of yourself and of others, questions qualify people. We use questions as a weapon, and it drives people down. If you use questions properly, it builds a bridge. Walls go down and people recognize that was a very intelligent question. Life is not about having all the right answers. It's about asking the right questions. And when you find yourself in a situation where, why in the hell are mortgage rates? Why didn't you tell me to do this 3 months ago? Reacting to that puts walls up. Asking the right questions, getting to the point of pain, to the point of fear, that builds bridges. That shows that you understand. There's an efficacy to connecting with human beings that we will always have a job. Just a couple of thoughts.
Nice, Jonathan. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being on today. I know what your schedule's like. I'm just happy to have you.
Love it.
And I want to call on Sherry Mason real quick. And there's a reason, Sherry, if you say, I don't want to talk, Rick, that's fine. But Sherry's a coach herself and was coached by Workman Success Systems, has been invited to be a coach there. She's done some coaching on her own. But we all need coaching. I love when people tell me, they say, Rick, I'm thinking of hiring a coach. What's the number one thing you would ask somebody before you hire them as your coach? And I say, the number one question I would ask somebody if I was going to hire them as coach is, who's your coach? Okay. Because I'm not going to get coached by someone who doesn't get some coaching, because that means they're full of crap. You're a coach, but you don't get coached. What do you mean? You're going to do something that you don't believe in having done for yourself. Okay. And I can't even count the number of coaches I have in my life, Jonathan and Katey being two of them, that we share thoughts all the time, that in itself, the conversation is a coaching conversation. Okay. And several other people on here too, Teresa. But Sherry, knowing all of that, share with us what you've experienced. Cause I know you just had a restart, right? You went out and pulled that damn cord on the lawnmower and said, this thing hasn't worked in years, but man, it sure started right up. And that's the analogy I have of the day we had that conversation where you said, I'm going for it, Rick. So tell us about what you went through and how you've been able to overcome it.
So I'm going to tell you the hardest part has been, the topic that Jonathan touched is waking up every morning with the I can't do it mentality and having to move it over and say, nope, today we're moving forward. So we're at the point now where rebranding. I'm flying my photographer out because I was from Northern California. I'm now in East Tennessee. I'm flying my photographer and marketing crew and everybody out here to Tennessee to do the whole splash, because I can't find anybody here that's even remotely close. And so we just have a kick up and it's kind of like starting over, but more intelligently. And so instead of, looking at it and going, it's going to take me 10 years to get my business up and my SOI and it'll be done by the end of this year. I'll be hiring my first admin by the end of this year.
Good. So I'm going to ask you a personal question because I want people to know why it's a bigger deal for me to see you restart. So I've known Sherry for many, many years. I used to own a Keller Williams in a town called Grass Valley, California, and she was one of the people that lived in that. That was many, many years ago. And Sherry, you and Gary are going to be fine living life if you don't sell another house. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. They're not financially in need. So you might say, well, if I was not financially in need, I wouldn't even doing this stupid thing. Really? What turns you on every day? Look at the smile on her face right now, because when we had our coaching call several months ago, that smile wasn't there. And I knew the existence of that smile. But what I can tell you is Sherry knew to go past me, to go do some other calls, to check in with some other people. And she came back with this renewed energy. Someone that could live happily the rest of her life without selling houses now is completely re-energized to close 6 a month. That's her new goal. So what? Yes. Think about what she just said. I'm taking the forward steps to move me in that direction. Is there some risk? Hell yes, there's some risk. Is there some unknowns? Yes. Right? We are ourselves the light that opens up the darkness in front of us. It's just us. Right? Yeah, you may get some coaching, but the coaching is going to encourage you to walk forward, but you are the one who's still going to have to do the walking forward. So I just see amazing things for you and Gary in the future, Sherry. And you know, I imagine you still wake up like that, right? Still wake up wondering, you know, what's going to be my motivation to push me forward today? Because let's be honest, for a lot of us, the motivation is the money. So can you share a little bit about that?
I can try. So
Okay.
my motivation is, you know, before I was, you know, financially sound, if you would, I've been hungry. I've been to where I know that the next deal is what's going to put dinner on the table, you know, and borrowing money to get to the close of the next deal so that you can do that. I remember those feelings, and I remember the passion of I want to make this happen because I don't want to be dependent on anybody ever again in my entire life. And then once it happened and it was like, I don't have to be dependent on anybody. I don't have to have any of that stuff. I got lost. I mean, when you don't have a passion and you don't have a real dream, you get lost and that by far was worse than being hungry, is not having something that was in my heart to go do every morning. I'd wake up and it was like, wow, I get to go pet my chickens today. Whoopee. It was really down. And so once I was able to kind of do this, you know, what I want to do with my life and do the whole thing. And then I was like, why not do what I know I'm good at? Why not come back and help people through an avenue that I know? So that's why I decided to jump back into real estate. My husband never jumped out per se, but he's ramping back up now a lot faster than he was doing it. But it was now just getting something to get up for in the morning and being able to meet new people in this town. This town is it's like stepping back in time. And so the people here and the realtors here are very negative and down and angry. And so it was contagious. And so it took me a little bit to be able to look above that and go back to my coaching friends, go back to the people that I know that love this business, and be able to build that fire back up for the love of this business. And that is now proving that I can do this business. If you took and dropped me off in the middle of, well, let's say East Tennessee and said, just do it, I can do it. And so that's what this is all about. And so who knows, the next adventure, I might move to Texas or Alaska. I don't know, or I might stay here, but at least I'll know I can redo it again.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Congratulations. And thank you for expressing your thoughts in a way that people can learn from them and grow from them. Sherry, that's a big deal. So now as we think about moving forward, we've listened to some great things. Maybe you've written down a pearl or two, maybe you haven't. I had a coach once that told me about taking notes. I say, no, I got this. And she said, remember these 2 words, Rick, they mean everything. Conversations disappear. And I couldn't agree with her more, because I had always had notebooks, taken a lot of notes and everything, but I was also relying a lot on my memory. So just remember that the conversations disappear if you don't write them down. I had an emotional moment. I was trying to surprise my wife by cleaning out her desk before she got back from her trip to New York. And she starts, have you guys heard me say this before? But she keeps picking up new journals and then starts them. So I'll open a journal and there's 3 pages written and then it's all blank, right? And it was like 3 years ago. And then there's another one that was started. And so I was trying to organize them all for her. So when she got back, she could go through them, tear out the pages, or do whatever she wanted to do. And I come across a page where she wrote down everything that she loved about me. Like she was taking notes at a seminar. So the notes on the page before it were all about the new product that her company was coming out with and how they would sell it. And then I flipped the page because all I was looking for was a date in there to see when this book was from. And I come across this page that she goes, the things I love about my husband. And it was all the things that I know also irritate her. But she was describing him in a way that, oh, it's so cute when he does that. Or even though it sometimes bothers me, I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, I'm standing there all alone in the living room of my house, crying like a big baby. And Jonathan, wipe that silly smirk off your face. So what was the lesson I took away from that is this, that we often get down on ourselves about things that other people love. And yet we don't take Jonathan said it brilliantly. Gary Keller used to say it all the time. No one succeeds alone. We have got to remember that the hardest thing that we can do, and look, God made us this way. He made it difficult for us to ask for help. He made it very difficult for us to ask for help. Okay. Like Sherry, while you were talking, Katey texted me and said she lives in East Tennessee. You remember Beth? And Beth's this amazing coach. And she goes, she just moved to East Tennessee. We should connect them to. And who knows where that would go. But that's what happens when we open our mouth and say we are in need. You never know, right? What's the William H. Murray quote that says providence moves too, right? When someone commits, providence moves too. That all unlikely events that start to happen that you never could have dreamed would have happened because you are committed to becoming that person that you see in your mind. So this is just, I don't want to belabor the point. It's definitely a subject that hit me strong this morning when I heard about it. My intent for today was actually to have a class on the DISC and how your behavioral style affects your conversation. So we're going to move that to the next call. I see a few wet eyes, and I hope that means, Katrina, that things will change moving forward. And Bruce and all of us that are a little teary-eyed right now, it just means that I hit a nerve that affects you. That's all it means. You're not crying for me. You're crying about something that hit a nerve within you. And that says, oh, that's something that I've got to remember for me. All right. I want to talk to one last person before we end the call. Her name's teresazocchi, my favorite Italian, almost, because Katey is also Italian, and they're 2 of my favorite Italian girls. Teresa, you're an entrepreneur. You run a very successful real estate team. You run another business in the network marketing industry, and you're a recruiter. You do all these different things every day, and yet you're alone in that big, beautiful house of yours on a daily basis because the kids have all moved away. So tell us how you meet that every day. And of course you have those down moments because we've shared them. How do you battle those?
I have my list of action items for every part of each business. And I get to them every morning, and there are days where I don't feel like it. And there's days that I don't do it. And when I don't do it, I start to get down on myself, but you get right back in there and you get up and you do your notes and you make your calls and you say, hey, let's go to lunch. And I have this goal of wanting to be in front of 8 people a week. That's my goal, my face-to-face goal. For the past 2 months, I haven't really done that. I've had some challenges at home with one of my daughters. So I sort of it's been a struggle. So I am getting back into it. And I'm telling you, getting back in is the greatest feeling. You jump in, you start to feel good again. It's great. I'm gonna get teary-eyed. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, and I've
There are
seen you
moments, for
overcome.
sure.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
You were battling debt and low income and everything. And still every day you got up and fought it and
Yeah.
you still persisted. And that wasn't that long ago, right?
No, and I've come a long way. So
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
for you.
yeah, it's tough.
So-
There's moments when you just go, wow, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah, good for you. Well, thank you. All right. So I want to just allow a few more minutes before and just see if we can get Katey, do you have any wrap up thoughts before I start asking everybody for their thoughts and last minute comments?
I mean, I just think, I'm sure every single person on this call has a story of perseverance. I mean, there is a biblical quote, he that shall persevere to the end, he shall be saved, right? I mean, so there is, savior, sometimes we got to save ourselves, and the way that we do that is by tapping into these calls and each other of, hey, Rick, you've done that with me. You've called me and said, hey, I'm just not feeling inspired. Could you jump on the call and help? Right. That was a few weeks ago. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we all have those moments of like, I'm just feeling out of my groove. And I think that this group lifts everybody up and inspires with their stories and connections. And so I think continuing to tap into this is just awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, please tell your friends this is all on YouTube. I mean, these recordings go on YouTube probably by the next day. So you don't have to be here. You can watch it. But also, if you have people that you'd like me to have on the phone on this call, I'd be glad to have them. If you know there's somebody that could make a difference. The only people we allow to sell anything on the call is guest speakers. I'm still selling Katey's book, right? Fortune Cookie Leadership.
I'll endorse that.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Great book.
But we don't, we want this to be a clean room, no recruiting, no selling other than our guest speakers. So, and I'm selling Jonathan's good looks today. He's single and beautiful. So if you guys know somebody for him, he's amazing. All right. Well, you guys take care. Anybody got a last minute comment, thought that they want to share with us before we hit the road? Jonathan, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I think we really appreciate you and we love you, Rick.
Thank you, Jonathan. That's very
Great.
nice, buddy. We'll look forward to your next visit out here to the beach. So, all right. All right. So, Katey, your book's popular now. Gina wants to know how to buy it. I think it's on Amazon. Isn't it?
Amazon. Yeah, Amazon.
Fortune Cookie Leadership. So, all right, guys. Well, everybody have an amazing week. It's a beautiful week. It's the week before Memorial Day weekend. We'll be back on the 1st. What car? Oh, sorry. Somebody pointed out an old 56 Chevy. So, but we'll be back on the 1st Friday of June, which is June 3rd, and bring a friend. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.